Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we chat about Patrick's recent trip to Disney World, including his thoughts on Disney After Hours Boo Bash. As always, we cover the latest Disney news and close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Patrick the Return Kazuki.
Ooh, Adam, preferred room, Hummel.
I do like a preferred room.
I prefer a preferred room, you know?
I only prefer rooms that are preferred.
Yeah, preferably.
Preferably, Patrick, here you are.
Hello, sir. How are you on this fine morning?
You know what? I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
So glad to hear it. I am doing well as well. I went for a run today. I just started training again for a half marathon in January. So I'm out there on the trails. I'm hitting the trails, Adam.
I love hearing that. When does the training ever end for you?
It really never does. It's a continuous cycle, but I'm hopeful that this training will not be completed on a treadmill this year. It'll be an actual run at the end of it.
Do you ever have a bulking season?
It's a continuous effort for me.
Got it.
Bulking season, yeah.
Got it. It's just a vicious cycle, right?
It's not so vicious. It's a delicious cycle is what it is.
Well, Patrick, you're back. You're back from your trip to Walt Disney World. We are so excited to talk all about it in our feature segment.
Well, hold on to those expectations because I am going to... I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. I have some things to say, and I'm excited about it.
I love those kind of cliffhangers that you create for us. It's so dramatic. I love it.
It never pays off in the end, though.
We're happy to have you back. And thank you again to Ben, who was our guest on Walt Quizney last week.
Wasn't he just a delight?
He was okay.
I listened to it again. I don't normally listen to all of our full episodes. I kind of skip around just to get notes of what can I work on for next time. I listened to the whole thing from front to end a couple of times because it was just so fun. We had such a fun time.
Top to bottom, tongue to tail, you listened to the entire episode.
That's an upsetting phrase.
Is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thought of it is actually quite appealing.
Well, thanks again, Ben and Patrick. We have sauntered our way into September.
We have. I don't know how it happened, but here we are. It's September, everybody. My goodness.
I guess not officially at the release of this episode, but we're getting there. It's happening this week.
It may as well be September right now, but yeah, it's happening. It's happening, everybody. It's happening.
It is happening. I don't even know what happened to August, but I will say death to mosquitoes, so I'm happy to see fall approaching.
I'm into it. Fall is my favorite time of year, mostly because the bugs have died. And that means I can go outside without fear of Zika.
Get out those shawl-collared sweaters. Maybe have some hot cocoa with some marshmallows.
I'm into it. I was at Target the other day, and they have their fall collection is starting to come out, and I'm into it. They're just it's a soft palette this year of purples and burgundies. I'm interested. It's my palette. I'm a fall, Adam. I'm a fall.
A soft burgundy?
Yeah. Which is maybe my new drag name, Soft Burgundy.
I love it.
Welcome to the stage, Soft Burgundy.
You only wear black, though.
Yeah, it's true. They're like, why this name? I don't understand it.
Figure it out, people.
It's true. Well, happy almost fall, everybody.
Moving on, Patrick, we just needed to give a tip of the hat, a little nod to one of our Tweedles, Chris, who reached out to us on Twitter, of all places. Can you believe it?
Twitter? Do we have a Twitter account?
We do. It's GDTD Podcast.
Oh, okay, great. Everybody, we have a Twitter account.
Across all platforms, you can find us. Not the TikTok, though.
Not yet. It'll happen.
I don't know. Soft Burgundy, TikTok is not for us.
It's true. I don't even know how to open it. I can't. I don't know.
Oh, but Chris sent us just the sweetest message. He was actually heading down to Disney World the same time you were, Patrick.
Oh, Chris, I hope you had a wonderful time. I suspect that you did, but let us know.
You can find Chris on Twitter at Typical Eeyore.
Oh, I love that name.
So search him out there. But Chris, thank you again. We really appreciate your kind words. Too kind, really. We're not used to that.
It's true. Not from each other anyways.
Certainly not. And Patrick, that takes us into some feedback from 2 weeks ago, was it? When we had Chris on from Wishful Thinking talking all about Disneyland Paris.
Let's keep the Chris's flowing. That's right. He joined us for a very interesting, very informative conversation about all things Disneyland Paris, and then also Paris proper itself and what to expect on your trip. We had some wonderful feedback.
That episode was also very downloaded. I think y'all are hungry for some international travel.
It's true. I know I am. Also, I think that Chris is slowly trying to take over our podcast, and I'm here for it. I think that we'll get better ratings if we have Chris on all the time.
Chris, it's official. You have been upgraded to recurring character on Gays Do the D.
Well, let's jump into that feedback. Adam, let's start out with Juan, who writes to us from Instagram at Jedi Trousers, and Juan says, "Hey guys, just listened to the very excellent Disneyland Paris episode and wanted to share a little gay Disney memory of mine. Me and my family visited the park in its opening year when I was but a tiny scamp of 5 years old." Think of this in a British accent, everybody, because it's going to sound a lot better than it is coming from me. "And I'll always remember going into the shop inside Sleeping Beauty Castle and my parents buying me a blue princess cone hat that had a veil with gold stars. I'm in love with your parents. I remember it so well. And I was so enchanted with the stained glass windows and the tapestries and the dragon in the cave below. And I wore that hat the rest of the trip and was living my absolute best tiny gay princess fantasy. Sparkling stars emoji."
Yeah, I love that when parents are so supportive and appreciate their child's desire for perhaps things that may not traditionally be considered for a male or a female. Like, just get your kids what they want and let them live their lives.
It's literally my favorite thing to see in the parks when there's just the gender lines are blurred as they should be.
Absolutely. And I hope there's more stories out there like this, certainly these days. Moving on, we heard from Lisa, who you can find on Instagram at Mrs. Mouse 61. And she wrote in to talk about Wishful Thinking's services, all of the services they offer. She says, "Amazing episode, made exceptional by my favorite travel agent, Wishful Thinking. Chris made Disneyland Paris seem like something realistic versus just a pipe dream. And I really appreciated the thorough review of not only the parks, but the trip experience, including cost. Chris helped me with an upcoming bucket list trip I'm taking next week with my adult son to Disney World and Universal, and his help was invaluable. And Tweedles, he is just as amazing as he seems on the pod."
I love it. And let's praise hands emoji is how this note was ended.
I left that just for you, Patrick.
Thank you so much. I love doing that.
I mean, we've sung Chris's praises on the podcast so many times. We think he's fantastic. And as we've mentioned, a lot of Tweedles have used his services. So be sure to check out Wishful Thinking. You can find him online at wishful-thinking.com. And you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at wishful_thinking with no I's. So that's wishful_THNKNG.
Yeah, it's great to hear feedback that's not just from us, letting everyone out there know just how exceptional Chris is in his services. And they are, again, everybody, free of charge to you. So use his services and let us know what you think. And we will happily convey your thoughts here on the podcast as long as they're positive.
Speaking of free things, Patrick, we should mention that this podcast is free.
Is it, though? It comes at a little bit of a cost, don't you think? An emotional toll, if you will.
An emotional and mental strain will be placed upon you as you listen to this, yes. But we just want to remind you that if you have the time, and perhaps if you're a new listener and haven't had the chance to do so, rate, review, subscribe, do all of those things for us.
That's right. It helps people find us out there in the internet world, right?
Yes, we need to be found. We need to be heard. despite what we just said about mental and emotional strain.
It's true. We need to be discovered so we can emotionally abuse more people out there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what we're really doing.
They keep coming back, so I'm okay with it. I am okay with it. Funny you should mention free, Adam. We are indeed a free podcast, and we will always remain as such. However, if you want to, we have a Patreon page, and we newly have a Patreon member who has just joined our Patreon family. I'm talking about Parker. Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Remember that show? Remember Parker Lewis Can't Lose?
I vaguely remember it. Vaguely.
Is it Can't Lose or Can't Win? I can't even remember anymore.
Does it matter?
It does. It matters to me. It was like the original Scrubs. It was sort of like the TV show Scrubs, if you can remember that show as well. Yeah, it was a good show. Good show. However, Parker is who we're here for. Parker has just become a Patreon member. Thank you so much, Parker. For those who don't know, as I said, we do have a Patreon page where for as little as $1 recurring a month, you can become a member of our Patreon family, which really supports Gaze to the D and our efforts to hurt your eardrums with our words and our voices. Isn't that right, Adam?
That's absolutely correct. Yes. And on top of that, we use the money that our Patreons so generously give us for giveaways. Giveaways, Patrick?
Many giveaways. And it just helps us keep the lights on here at Gaze to the D. We got bills to pay. You know, it doesn't come free to us, but we're happy to do so. But now it doesn't have to be that way because you support us so generously. And we thank you. Thank you to all of our Patreon members.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Parker, for joining. Thank you to all the Patreon members. We love you so much.
So much love. If you are not already a Patreon member and want to be one, you can head on over to gazetothed.com and click on that donate button, which will then take you to our Patreon page. And we should mention, extra episodes come just to you, our Patreon members, called Gaze to the D, Raw and Uncut.
Yeah, so get into it, people.
Get into it. Speaking of getting into things, a new trailer was just released for Spider-Man No Way Home. Let's get into that.
I thought you were going to say, let's get into Tom Holland.
You know, I was going to say that, but I feel like people are tired of hearing me and my expletive relationship with Tom Holland. They're not. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, let's get into some Tom Holland, everybody.
That's relatable content, Patrick. People love Tom Holland. And you know what? I think they really want you two to make a go of it.
I think the people are demanding it. It's true.
That's right. Regardless, yes, Spider-Man No Way Home, the teaser trailer came out last week. And Patrick, I have some stats for you. You're a stats guy.
I'm a statistician, if you will.
355.5, that 0.5 is so important, million global views of the trailer across all platforms in the trailer's first 24 hours of release.
Amazing. Staggering. That is a staggering number.
And it beat the previous record holder, which was Avengers Endgame, which had a measly 289 million global views.
Ugh, go home, Endgame. Your game is ended.
Nobody likes you, Avengers Endgame. We're all about Spider-Man No Way Home now. Patrick, what did you think of the trailer?
It looks great. It seemed like a very reserved trailer for what I think we're going to be seeing in this movie. There's a lot happening, and it didn't seem as action-packed as the previous Spider-Man trailers had been. It seemed more involved in the storytelling of it, which I'm interested in.
Yeah, and rightly so, right? Because there was a big twist at the end of the last Spider-Man film, and so a lot of twists and turns. Expect a lot of the unexpected, huh?
Ooh, very Phantom Tollbooth of you. I like that. I will say I'm officially in love with Zendaya, and I'm excited to see her in this movie. I just finished watching Euphoria, and boy, there's a special something in her, and I love it. I'm here for it. I'm obsessed with her now.
Love Zendaya. We also got a surprise at the end of the trailer, didn't we, Patrick?
We got a few surprises. I actually did some investigating on IMDb, and there are going to be quite the cameos in this film. Interesting cameos, too. Cameos from films past that did not include Tom Holland, I must say.
Love that. We know for sure that Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus, is returning, played by Alfred Molina, also the voice of the king from Frozen.
Willem Dafoe is also scheduled to be in the movie. His voice, anyways, we heard his little Green Goblin giggle during the trailer.
I'm slated to be in the film.
You are indeed. But even more exciting, Jamie Foxx is making a return as well, reprising the role of Electro.
Is that more exciting?
I believe so. I would say yes. I would say yes to that.
Okay.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you are one under Jamie Foxx.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Fair. Yeah, I'm super excited for the nerdery that this movie might provide in the Marvel universe.
It's going to be a nerdgasm for sure. It is going to be released on Friday, December 17th, 2021. Only in theaters. Only in theaters? Only in theaters as of now.
Yeah, only in theaters with a question mark behind it, not on Disney+. However, Cruella was just released on Disney+, so if you haven't seen that movie, go on over to Disney+, and you can now watch Cruella for free.
That's true. Although we should say this is a Sony film, technically, so it wouldn't be on Disney+, would it? I don't think so.
You're a Sony film. What? I don't know what that means.
But it's also Marvel, so I don't know how this works.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it either. Maybe someone will untangle that web, if you will.
I will. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Well, what do you say, Adam? What do you say we move on and jump into some This Week in Disney History?
Let's do it, Patrick. Take it away.
We're going to swing into it fully Spider-Man style, starting with 16 years ago, Adam, on August 30th, 2005, the direct-to-video movie Lilo & Stitch 2, Stitch Has a Glitch, was released. Now, this movie takes place directly after 2002's Lilo & Stitch and right before 2003's Stitch the Movie, making this film both a prequel and a sequel at the same time, otherwise known as an interquel. Now, this would also be the only movie in the series in which Lilo wasn't voiced by Davy Chase, who was busy working on Lilo & Stitch the series, so instead, her friend and up-and-coming actress at the time, Dakota Fanning, voiced Lilo.
Get out of here.
I will not. A young and precious Dakota Fanning.
Oh, wow. Dakota playing Lilo. What's she up to these days?
I don't think she needs to be doing anything these days. She has lived her best life by the age of 18, and so I say retire. Retire, Dakota.
She is living in Elle's shadow, is what she's doing, Patrick.
Fair. This is fair enough. Fair enough. Well, moving on, 61 years ago, on September 1st, 1960, singer and film score composer Joseph Williams was born in Santa Monica, California. Now, Joseph is the son of actress and singer Barbara Ruick and composer John Williams. Now, many know Joseph Williams for his work in the rock band Toto, but for Disney, Williams was the singer for the theme song in the animated series Adventures of the Gummy Bears, and he was the singing voice for adult Simba in the animated film The Lion King.
Toto, Africa, come on.
It's true. Everyone knows that song and yet doesn't want to know that song, I think.
Now, why wasn't that used in the live-action Lion King?
Just a bunch of white dudes singing about Africa, you know? Why ever not?
Talk about a twist. Expect the unexpected.
Oh, no one wants to expect that, though. That's the problem. That is the problem. Well, happy birthday, Joseph Williams. Moving on, 83 years ago, on August 31st, 1938, Walt and Roy Disney placed a $10,000 deposit on a 51-acre property on Buena Vista Street in Burbank, California. Construction will begin the following year on what was, at the time, the most modern animation studio in the world. The Walt Disney Studios was designed by Walt Disney himself, along with designer Ken Weber, known for his streamline design. Incidentally, at the time, 51 acres in Burbank, California cost $100,000. Just $100,000. That's insanity to me.
I'm suddenly feeling very aware of the fact that I may have paid too much for my home.
You could have gotten 51 acres, Adam.
Could have done it and created an animation empire.
Yeah.
But no, instead I moved to Oshkosh and I'm living in a 2-bedroom home.
Where we're going to start a podcasting empire.
That's going to happen.
Yep. Put it out in the universe. It's probably going to happen, everyone. Oh, man. Well, everybody, that concludes this week in Disney history.
And that means, Patrick, it's time for us to head into the Disney news.
I like it. I like news, Adam.
Headlines, deadlines, blow my mind.
Oh, we have to move on. Fade out. Fade out.
August 18th, 2021 was a very important date for Disney culture as Disney Parks finally officially announced the forthcoming digital service Disney Genie. Arriving this fall to Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland Resort, Disney Genie is designed to create guests' best Disney day, making planning easier, providing more flexibility, and offering better tools to help guests make the most of their visit. The development team made significant investments in new technology, which will include a personalized itinerary feature that will quickly and seamlessly map out an entire day with continuous updates, display current and forecasted future wait times for attractions, and provide access to virtual queues for certain attractions, dining reservations, mobile food ordering, and help from a virtual assistant when needed. In addition to those free offerings, Disney Genie will also offer a paid service, Disney Genie Plus, the next evolution of Disney Max Pass, previously available at Disneyland Resort. For the price of $15 per ticket per day at Walt Disney World Resort and $20 per ticket per day at Disneyland Resort, guests will have the ability to choose the next available time to arrive at a variety of attractions and experiences using the Lightning Lane entrance. Guests can make one selection at a time throughout the day, from classics like Haunted Mansion to thrill rides like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and newer favorites like Millennium Falcon, Smuggler's Run, subject to availability. Disney Genie Plus will also include Disney Parks-themed audio experiences and photo features like augmented reality lenses for those visiting Walt Disney World Resort and unlimited Disney PhotoPass downloads from your day if you are visiting Disneyland Resort. Disney Genie Plus will also offer individual attraction selections available for purchase. Guests will have the option of paying for a scheduled time to arrive at up to 2 highly demanded attractions each day using the Lightning Lane entrance, like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Magic Kingdom Park and Radiator Springs Racers at Disney California Adventure. Pricing for this option will vary by date, attraction, and park, and will be announced closer to launch. Lightning Lane selections will be made on the same day of your visit and can be used across multiple theme parks. Attractions will continue to offer a traditional standby queue or a virtual queue at certain attractions like Star Wars Rise of the Resistance to maximize flexibility. In addition, enhancements are also being made to Disney's Disability Access Service, or DAS, program, including new options to enroll in the program pre-arrival and for DAS participants to select attractions directly in the app. These options will be available in addition to Disney's existing in-person DAS program. For more details on Disney Genie, visit disneyworld.com/DisneyGenie and disneyland.com/DisneyGenie. Patrick, we've talked a little bit about this via text, but how are you feeling about the details behind Disney Genie?
I actually think that they came to a really good spot with this first initial launch of it. I imagine things will tweak as they figure it out, as they smooth things out and get guest reactions. I think that the $15 and $20 price point is quite reserved for what we've seen from Disney lately in how they're pricing things out. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I know a lot of people out there were quite upset, specifically those in California, to be paying for something that they were already using at either a lower cost or free. So no one's going to be completely happy. Like, they're not going to make everybody happy, but they have pleasantly surprised me, I will say.
We did do a very scientific Instagram poll and a Twitter poll, we should mention. Out of 84 respondents on our Instagram, 48% were in favor of Disney Genie and said, take my money. And 52% were not in favor of the paid service portion of Disney Genie and said, this is villainous. We prompted that You know, it's either take my money or villainous. And on Twitter, out of 17 respondents, 12% said take my money and 88% said this is villainous. So some disparity there. But for the most part, and what I've been seeing online anyway, is that it's pretty evenly split between people being a little more upset with the add-on pay service and people being willing to happily pay it.
Yeah, that's understandable, fully understandable. I think this is going to benefit everybody, though, those who are paying for it and those who are not going to pay for it. My hunch is that they have used the science, whatever that means, to figure out what that sweet spot is of just lowering wait times on all these attractions. And I think this is going to provide a better option because it's going to spread people out across the parks, is my assumption. That's the hope anyways. What are your thoughts on it?
I like it. I'm a fan of Max Pass in Disneyland. Like, I just like the convenience of walking in day of and making my attraction selections that day. And I don't mind paying for it. I can afford it, which I'm very fortunate that I can afford it. You know, where my concern comes in is like families, and particularly families, I believe, traveling internationally. I think it's going to be a large chunk of change, you know, if they have several kids, that they're going to end up kind of shelling out if they do want to take advantage of the paid service.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, Disney is already expensive, and adding things on to possibly have a better experience is a little troublesome. But I mean, that you're going to experience that anywhere you go. If you're flying on a plane, right, you can pay more to have a better seat, or you can pay what everyone else is paying and have, you know, the seat that everyone else is sitting in. So that's just, it's everywhere. It's not just Disney. So I think Disney's getting a lot of flack for it, where it's a norm. It's a norm in society that if you want a little bit of a better experience, you are going to have to pay a little bit more. That doesn't mean you can't go to Disney. That doesn't mean that you can't experience Disney and have a great day. It just means this is one extra thing that is an add-on. It's an add-on ticket, really.
I'm going to be very curious once this launches to hear the feedback from guests who are using it, and hopefully hear the kind of positive reactions of this really kind of, as you said, Patrick, benefiting everyone's experience in the parks. Like, even if they're not using the paid portion, hopefully this will result in faster queues all around.
I think so. And I'm a huge fan of an a la carte day. I don't miss fast passes. I don't miss the fast pass selections. I don't think it worked very well. I was never very happy with it. And at least the first time I visit the parks when it's available, I will be taking advantage of it. So they got me interested. That's not hard to do, though.
Yeah, same with me. I will be utilizing the $15 service, and I could absolutely see myself purchasing a ride on Tron when it's available, you know, if it means that I'm able to kind of maximize my day in the park and not have to wait in that line.
Now, see, that is actually the one part of it that grosses me out a little bit, that after you've paid the $15 to have the Genie Plus, you then have to shell out additional money if you want to go on what Disney has deemed a top tier ride. That grosses me out a little bit. I don't like that part of it. I think if you've paid the $15, everything's available to you.
I think that's accurate. Tweedles, please correct us if we're not understanding this. There are some like details of this service that I'm certainly not completely understanding, but I believe, yeah, if there are certain attractions that are highly anticipated, kind of top tier attractions, you pay on top of the $15 to get into the lightning lane even faster or something like that.
If that's the case, that super grosses me out. I think that's disgusting. Just turn that into a Rise of the Resistance. Everyone has the same chance to get on that ride. That's my opinion on it.
So we're happily disgusted.
I am pleasantly grossed out, everybody. Previously, we announced that all salaried and non-union cast members working for the Walt Disney Company would be required to get a COVID-19 vaccination by September 30th, 2021. This past week, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts reached an agreement with the Actors Equity Association that requires all equity performers at Walt Disney World to be vaccinated by October 22nd, 2021. It should be noted that Equity represents most of the live entertainment cast members performing at Walt Disney World. The agreement allows accommodations for cast members who have medical conditions or sincerely held religious beliefs that would otherwise prevent them from getting a vaccination. A quote from Russell Lair, the Assistant Eastern Regional Director for Actors Equity Association. Actors Equity Association appreciates Walt Disney World's continued dedication to the safety of its cast members and their collaborative approach working with unionized employees. Equity agrees with Disney. The science shows that vaccination provides the best protection against severe COVID-19 infections. This policy protects the safety and rights of our cast members. As part of this new mandate, Disney will continue to host free vaccination events, allowing cast members to receive the vaccination by the agreed-upon deadline.
This news story really surprised me.
Really? How so?
No, it didn't. I'm just kidding. This is clearly clearly the way to go, right?
Yeah, for sure. It actually surprised me a little bit in that they came to an agreement so quickly. Usually, Disney and unions, it takes months and months and months and months, but they were like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm on board.
For the protection of the guests, for the protection of the cast members, it's all around a great idea, right? Just to have the cast members vaccinated so that everyone can feel safe and protected.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially those cast members who are, let's face it, taking a risk every day they go to work. So this just ensures their safety. And if you don't want to get one or you're not in agreement with it, then you, sorry to say it, can find somewhere else to get a job, hopefully. That sounds a little brash, but I agree with Disney. I think that more companies should take a stand like this.
I guess this is the time I need to tell you then, Patrick, that we have established a vaccine mandate at Gays Do the D, and you will be required to get a vaccine.
Listen, I'll take as many vaccines as you want to give me. If you booster the hell out of me.
In celebration of the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World Resort. What? Who knew that was happening?
This is brand new information. Tell me more.
Breaking news. ABC News and Disney Parks have teamed up to present a spectacular television event, The Most Magical Story on Earth, 50 years of Walt Disney World. The special, hosted by Disney legend Whoopi Goldberg, will take viewers on a journey spanning half a century and beyond at Walt Disney World in Florida. The show will feature musical performances from Christina Aguilera and Halle Bailey in front of the legendary Cinderella Castle at Magic Kingdom Park, accompanied by the renowned Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra. Halle Bailey performing in this special, Patrick. Do you think we'll see maybe the Little Mermaid teaser?
If we don't, then I am boycotting Disney.
Those are big words coming from you.
Yeah, I don't mean it for real, but I'll be mad. I'll be upset.
Sure. Yeah. The special will also include exclusive interviews with iconic actors, actresses, just call them actors, Disney, and athletes, Walt Disney World cast members, Disney Imagineers, and executives past and present who have all played their unique part in sprinkling pixie dust over the most magical place on Earth. Footage never before seen on television will give fans a glimpse into the journey to bring Walt's vision to life and a look at plans for the future. The special will also spotlight some of Walt Disney World's most memorable pop culture moments, from the many sitcoms that filmed episodes in the theme parks to the conception of the ubiquitous I'm Going to Disney World campaign. Plus, viewers will get a heartwarming look at how Disney and Make-A-Wish Foundation have worked together for over 40 years to make kids' Disney dreams come true. Celebrities, including Anthony Anderson, John Stamos, Gary Sinise, Candace Cameron Bure?
Okay.
I think it's Candace Cameron Pure. Some NFL athletes who I don't really recognize. Kevin Feige, there we go. Pete Docter and James Cameron, Walt Disney World Imagineers, and Disney executives past and present, including Chapek, Iger, and Eisner, will all share their favorite memories of Walt Disney World. The Most Magical Story on Earth, 50 years of Walt Disney World, airs Friday, October 1st. Patrick, we're going to be there maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Anyway, it airs Friday, October 1st from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. It can also be viewed the next day on demand and on Hulu, and later in October on Disney Plus.
I love it. I love this. This is going to be fun. I love that they are using Whoopi Goldberg to host this. I love her. I love listening to her voice. She's magical to me. I'm excited about this.
You know, she's an EGOT, Patrick.
I did know that. She's actually an EGOTed because of the Disney legend.
It sounded like you were going full Nell for a moment, but then I cued into what you were saying. Yeah.
Tay in the EGOT. A few weeks ago, we reported on the upcoming Princess and the Frog attraction in both Disney World and Disneyland. At the time, we had very little information other than the project is still underway and a creative team is in place. Then this past week, even more information was released in the form of a roundtable YouTube discussion with some of the artists working on the attraction. The roundtable was hosted by Kenneth Moton, a correspondent for ABC News. Interviewed in the video were Sharita Carter, senior creative producer for Walt Disney Imagineering and a producer and team leader specifically for this new attraction. Marlon West, visual effects supervisor for Walt Disney Animation Studios, specifically for Princess and the Frog and the upcoming Tiana series for Disney+. Carmen Smith, VP of Inclusive Strategies for Walt Disney Imagineering and the creative executive producer for this new attraction. And Stella Chase Reese, daughter of Leah Chase, who was the inspiration for The Princess and the Frog and the owner of the historic Dookie Chase restaurant in New Orleans. The discussion was focused mainly on inspiration for the new attraction. As we previously reported, the ride picks up just after the kiss at the end of the film and will take guests on a ride through New Orleans with Tiana, Naveen, and their friends. To get the ball rolling, Disney commissioned Shakira Mahdi, a visual artist, art educator, and alumna of YAYA, which stands for Young Aspirations Young Artists, an arts center located in New Orleans. Mahdi was hired to create a series of 4 original paintings that would inspire the Imagineers working on the attraction. We were also treated to some, and I will say some, new information on the attraction itself. We now know that Tiana herself will be welcoming guests and acting as a sort of narrator and guide through the bayou, discovering old friends from the film and new characters as well. We also now know for sure that the attraction will end with a Mardi Gras party thrown by Tiana and Naveen with all of the bright and lush colors from the movie multiplied by roughly 1 million. Also teased were some advancements that would be made in regards to audio animatronics and scenic design that would, quote, change the game. As we know from previous announcements, many of the Imagineers who designed Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will be working on this new attraction. More importantly, the video is really worth watching for the discussion behind the significant cultural impact that The Princess and the Frog has had, not only within Disney, but for families around the world. It's easy to forget how groundbreaking this film was, both artistically and culturally, and how significant this new attraction will be, the first attraction in Disney to prominently feature and star Black characters. As a side note, we all know Walt Disney himself said that the Disney parks were always meant to change and evolve, and with this new attraction, we finally really get to see Disney parks evolve not only in their operations, but also evolve culturally. To cap off the story, in celebration of the recent developments and as a thank you to the city of New Orleans for its inspiration on all things Princess and the Frog, Disney has announced a $50,000 donation to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, a regional pre-professional arts training center offering students intensive instruction in culinary arts, dance, media arts, classical instrumental music, jazz instrumental music, classical vocal music, drama, musical theater, theater design, visual arts, and creative writing. Stay tuned for more information on this new attraction. We will be sure to dig a little deeper to bring you the latest updates.
Patrick.
You see what I did there?
I see exactly what you did there. So excited for this complete redesign of Splash Mountain. I'm curious to see what the story's going to be, or the new story that they're developing. And I'm also curious to see if some of the new characters that they're going to introduce in the attraction will then be featured in the Tiana series coming to Disney+.
I imagine so. I imagine that is going to be the case. I don't believe that show is scheduled to be released until maybe 2022 or a little bit later. I know that they're being very intentional about getting that show right, I think, and so they're pushing it out as far as they can to really capture it. And I imagine they're probably doing that to coincide with the reopening of this attraction as well. That's just a hunch.
Yeah, that would make sense. Do we know if the series is going to be traditionally animated or if it's going to be like CGI or computer animated?
I have not heard or seen anything along those lines yet. I know that a lot of the team who worked on The Princess and the Frog are also working on the new series. So who knows? It might be a mix of both.
How do you feel about the idea of a new story for Tiana in an attraction? Because I'm a little torn on it. I like the idea of the new story, but at the same time, I'm such a fan of the film that I think it would have been really special to have a complete ride-through experience of the film.
Yeah, I understand that. I actually kind of like that it's going to be its own standalone story, kind of in the way that the Frozen ride is. It's not necessarily the movie Frozen, and I think that opens it up for sequels, really. So it's not just stuck in its own movie. It can be just part of the story of Tiana and all of her friends, as opposed to strictly being the first movie.
Yeah, I get that. I can see both sides of it. I'm so bipartisan, Patrick.
Fair enough. I am excited. One of the renderings, go online and look at these renderings that the artist has done. They're very beautiful. I'm super excited and inspired by them. And also, we get to see Tiana in pants, perhaps. She might be wearing some pants in the bayou, which is exciting as well.
Maybe, if they're really forward-thinking, maybe we'll see Naveen in a dress.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. You know how Brer Bear is always presenting his bottom? I'm thinking just put Naveen in that position. We'll see what happens. Is that appropriate to say? Can we say that on here?
I think so. And I think you've just insinuated that Tiana is a dom top.
Yeah. I have not insinuated. I have full on said it.
As we mentioned at the top of the episode, and as you probably realized as you read the title of this episode, Patrick is freshly back from Walt Disney World.
That's right. I'm back in the rat race of it all.
And as one does when one returns from Walt Disney World, one is required to appear on this podcast and talk about their trip to Walt Disney World. And Patrick, you just happen to be a co-host of this podcast. I didn't know if you are aware of that. So it's very convenient for you to just come on and talk about your trip.
Yeah, for now. For now, I am a co-host of this podcast. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Vaccine pending. Patrick is still a co-host of this podcast. Just kidding. We're both vaccinated.
I was going to say, I want to make it very clear that I am incredibly vaccinated.
Oh, incredibly vaccinated. Okay, okay. Both vaccinated. Okay, moving on. So, Patrick, we have to talk about your trip to Walt Disney World, and we have to talk about your experience at Boo Bash, because you were one of the very first people to experience it in the whole entire world.
That's right. I believe it was the second party that they had. Or I shouldn't say party. I should say after hours event.
That's right. The second bash.
I was bashed second.
Lucky you. But before we get into that, Patrick, that's what they call a teaser, folks. Let's talk about the logistics of your trip. When were you there? Where did you stay? Who were you traveling with? Spill it.
Oh, thank you so much for asking. I was there for a Thursday through Monday. That would be the week prior to when you're listening to this recording of Gays Do the D. I don't remember the dates because I can't be bothered with those. So it was a bit of a quick trip, I guess, of 4 or 5 days in the parks, kind of, and 4 nights. I don't know what the math is. I went with my friend Matt, who is also from Minnesota. Matt is actually a friend of mine who ran my very first half marathon with me in Walt Disney World for Run Disney.
There's that bond there, that experience, that connection, Patrick?
That's right. Absolutely. We've been friends for years and years and years, and we are no longer friends after this trip.
As it happens when you travel with Patrick, if anyone has had the experience, you know.
That's right. I'm a monster on vacation, everybody. It's all true. It's all true. No, so Matt and I, we both stayed at Pop Century, and as you may have guessed at the beginning of our episode, in a preferred room at Pop Century. I can't be bothered with the non-preferred rooms. I simply can't be bothered with it.
And this was not your first stay at Pop Century, correct?
It's not. I actually have come to love Pop Century. I think it is an affordable location. It's sort of central to most of the parks. It's right on the Skyliner. It's so convenient. I highly recommend Pop Century, but don't stay there when I'm on vacation because I want it to be low capacity while I'm there.
I love when you set expectations for us.
Listen, you have to advocate for yourself. You know, if you don't advocate
right.
for you, no one else will. No, the interesting thing about Pop Century is now all of the rooms are kind of preferred, so I don't know why I pay the extra money. Maybe it's just peace of mind, because, as I said, it is on the Skyliner, so that takes care of two of the parks. If you're staying at a building further away from you, further towards the lake, you're closer to the Skyliner. But if you're staying at a preferred room, they tend to put you closer to the main building, where the cafeteria and the gift shop and the buses are. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other for rooms there. So if you're not getting a preferred room, don't worry about it. You're going to be close to one of the transportation modes.
All I'm hearing is that preferred at Pop is now a lie.
It is a lie. It's a full-on fallacy. I actually don't know if the other rooms are updated yet. I imagine they are by now. But listen, Pop Century, I like it. I fully recommend it.
And what was the reason for this trip? Were you two going to be running like the Wine and Dine?
Great question. No, actually, that doesn't happen until November of this year, the Wine and Dine. But I was there for a run, in theory. August was the last month of the Lion King virtual series, which was all virtual. And I decided, hey, let me run this on property at Disney, because I haven't had a chance to do a full run Disney experience for quite some time now. I just wanted to do it on property right there around Hourglass Lake that connects Pop Century and the art of animation. So we finished the last 5K in the series on Friday morning, the morning of the Boo Bash.
Okay, got it. Boo Bash, you mentioned it. Patrick, let's talk about it. This is a Disney After Hours event with a Halloween tie-on, right?
That's right. This is the first of two so far events that are combining the holiday party, the Halloween or the holiday party later this year, and an after-hours event. Typically, those were separate things. There was either a party or an after-hours event, and now it's one thing merged together for a not insignificant price point, I will say. It's a little bit spendy, but you are getting a little bit more out of it because you're getting all of the free snacks and you're getting a full-on theme as well.
I have done an after-hours event before, but it was not a themed after-hours event. It was just more of the traditional after-hours event, but it was at the Magic Kingdom. So I know a little bit about that. Again, free snacks included, attractions included, things like that. So I'm very curious about how the theming, the Halloween theming, came into play and how that kind of enhanced the experience. But before we get to that, let's just talk about kind of the details behind the event. So was it like an early entry into the park situation? Were you able to enter prior to the event itself beginning?
Yes, absolutely. Much like an after-hours event and much like a traditional party, you get to enter the park at about 6 p.m. The party itself, and I'll just use the word party for what this was, the event itself started at 9:30 the evening that we were there. So we got to go into the parks about 3.5 hours before the actual event started. Now, I have an annual pass, so I could have done that anyways. But if you don't have a ticket for the park that day, this separately ticketed event does get you into the parks at 6 p.m. So you can enjoy the park like a regular guest and then turn into a VIP guest after that.
That's an excellent point that you bring up, because when Matthew and I did this many years ago now, we used this as our quote unquote Magic Kingdom day. So we didn't actually visit Magic Kingdom during regular park hours. We used our after hours event as our time in the Magic Kingdom to do the attractions we wanted to do.
I think that's the way, if you really want to get the most out of your dollars, that's the way to do it. If you don't already have an annual pass, I would suggest not buying a parks ticket that day if you're going to do an after-hours event like this. Just use this as your parks entry ticket, really, and go do something else during the day. Have a relaxing morning, go to Disney Springs, adventure out into Orlando, though I don't suggest that right now. Just relax about it, and then enter the park at 6 p.m. Go on some rides if you want, or have a dinner there before the event starts, whatever you want to do. That's what we did. We ate at Skipper Canteen prior to the party, which was lovely. And then right at 9:30, they shuffled all the common folk out of the park, and the event began.
And in addition to that, we should mention, too, that this is a limited capacity event, severely limited, in fact. So if you're not a fan of Magic Kingdom crowds, which we all know Magic Kingdom can get very crowded, this might be just the event for you. Maybe not the Boo Bash, but just an after-hours event in general if you want to experience it. Okay, so Patrick, once the event began, did the park turn over? Because during the Halloween party, there's kind of a significant change in the overall park atmosphere.
Yep, and that absolutely happened just as a Halloween party would have in the past. So the lights dim a little bit. They turn into that more purple and green haze over everything. It's really beautiful. The soundtrack shifts over to Disney Halloween music. It's really lovely. It's one of my favorite visions of the park when it turns sort of villainous, basically. I loved that part of it. Immediately, once it shifted over, the characters slowly started to come out. They sort of waited to get everyone else out of the parks first. And then about a half hour into it, once they sort of were clear that only guests with this ticket were in the parks, the characters came out. They are a no-touch experience, as everything is right now. So you sort of saw them from a distance, but it was really fun because they would sort of catch your eye and pose for you for photos. You could get selfies, or if you had someone there to take a photo of you, you got a picture with the character. They're not terribly far away, so it's not like you're a teeny tiny Winnie the Pooh in the distance. They're behind you, but they're not next to you. So it was fine. It was a really quick way to get a photo with a character. Whereas before, in the Halloween parties, you had to wait, honestly, hours and hours sometimes to get your photo with these very unique characters that only come out for this event. So they're very rare characters that you get to see. So that actually was worth price of admission, I think. These really quick photo opportunities. It was really fun.
That's great to hear. And you're absolutely right. I mean, what we've heard in the past, and Patrick, I have not been to a Halloween party in Walt Disney World previously, but Patrick certainly has. And those lines for character meet and greets can be notoriously long, in particular when you're talking about like Jack and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, more Halloween themed characters. The lines can be incredibly long.
Yes, absolutely. The one thing I will say, I wish that there had been just a couple of more experiences. There was a sprinkling of them, and then the majority of the characters that you could see were on the cavalcades that happened. So generally at Halloween parties, there's a full-on parade that happens. This time it was sporadic cavalcades that were happening that we've reported on previously. Jack and Sally and Oogie Boogie were there, Mickey and Friends, the villains, and then Maleficent's dragon. And they came out several many times throughout the event. So you really had to try not to see them this time around, which was great. Again, worth the price of admission because there was so much to do and see. Whereas with the Halloween party, there's 2 parades that you can see and there's 2 shows that you can see. And oftentimes the park is so crowded that you can barely see them because you're just standing 18 people deep, really, to see these things. This was hardly anybody there. You had free reign and were right up next to the characters as they drove by. So again, I really applauded them for that aspect of the event.
You were like, Mickey, get out of my way.
It's true. I've seen you before. I already saw you today. I need to see Jack Skellington instead.
Was there a stage show offered in this event?
There was not a stage show. There was also not a special fireworks that I believe they were going to do fireworks, and then for some reason they pulled it. I don't know why, but they are not doing it. Maybe it'll come back in October for when people are paying the really high price for the Halloween party, for the Halloween event, I mean. So that was a little disappointing. Those 2 things are fan favorites, but they were not available this time around.
So that's a bit of a loss when it comes to comparing the actual Halloween party to this after hours event. But so far, it sounds like you're getting a really quality experience.
Yeah, I think so. And I will be clear, if you do enter the parks early, you do get to see Happily Ever After right now, the fireworks show. So you do get to see fireworks if you enter the park right before the Halloween party shifts over. So it's not a complete loss. And I will say that the holiday party this year will have fireworks, special holiday fireworks that are included in your ticket. But it was a little sad not to see the Halloween fireworks because they are a fan favorite in the parks.
Yeah. Did you and Matt do any trick-or-treating?
We did. There were many, many locations to trick-or-treat through. We didn't do all of them because I just wasn't in a candy mood yet in August. I'm usually, it's a little early for me to start eating Halloween candy, or especially buckets and buckets of them. But there were so many treat locations and the park was so empty that you could potentially go home with an additional suitcase full of candy if you wanted to.
Yeah, Halloween candy, delicious. Halloween candy on a humid summer evening, I don't know, not so much.
Yeah. Am I saying I didn't eat it? I'm not. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying I reserved myself to just a half a bag full of candy.
And I'm assuming you took advantage then of the free treats that were offered too, things like premium Mickey ice cream bars and bottled water, popcorn, things like that.
Let's be clear. I did fill my backpack up with some free soda bottles and and 1 or 2 boxes of popcorn may have been in my backpack at the end of the evening. Listen, they were free, so I'm not ashamed to admit that. And I had a Mickey premium bar. So if you add up the amount of things that I consumed or brought home, literally it was like $50 worth of treats, because those premium bars are like $6 and the popcorn is like $5 and the sodas are $4. So it does add up. Those free snacks do add up if you take advantage of them.
I would also just put out there, temper yourself, folks, because I went to town on those ice cream bars and, by midnight or whenever the event ended, I was like, this was a huge mistake. I regret my choices. I mean, did I get my money's worth? Absolutely. But my tummy was not happy with me.
Yeah, after a couple of candy bars and a Mickey premium bar, I was like, I've made an error in judgment here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So talk a bit about the crowd, or the lack of crowd rather, and how quickly you were able to get on attractions.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you what, there was almost nobody in the parks, it seemed like. There was so much room for activities. I mean, at the Halloween party, those of you who have gone to a Halloween party know, it is crowded. It is very crowded. It is just like waiting in line on a normal day to get on an attraction, if not worse sometimes. This time, literally every single attraction was a walk-on experience. There was no wait at all. We maybe waited 5 minutes for a loading area to go through for any ride. We went on Seven Dwarfs, we went on Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, Pirates, Haunted Mansion, all of them full on walk on the ride. And it really was worth, again, I'll keep saying this, I in my opinion, it was worth the price of admission because it was an empty park and you could experience everything that Disney World, or the Magic Kingdom anyways, has to offer.
I know this sounds like a dumb question, but I think it's applicable. Did it seem not crowded enough? Does that make sense? Because sometimes when you're at an event, you want to kind of be aware that there's other people around you and that they're having fun. Or was it just joyous to be able to spin down Main Street and do high kicks and not whack anybody in the face?
I hear what you're saying. I do understand that. I would say this is how I want an event to be. This was the perfect level of, there was just enough people. There were people around. You could see them. Obviously, you were never alone necessarily, but you didn't have to wait for anything. And for that amount of money that you're shelling out to be here for 3.5 hours, really is how long the event is. I expect to get on a ride for that amount of money right away. I expect to go into a photo pass line and get a photo taken in under 20-25 minutes. I don't want to wait if I paid that much money. I think the Halloween party, though super fun, it's a letdown because you can do maybe 4 or 5 things in the time that the party is. For this after hours event with the Halloween overlay, we literally did everything on our bucket list and then some, and left the park early.
Wow. Okay. So from that standpoint, it really does behoove you to take advantage of this ticket if you are focused on getting as much as you possibly can in while you're at the event.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. And even if your goal is to just get really wonderful photos of an empty park, some photos in front of the castle with no one behind you, worth it, absolutely. Do I know what it's going to be like in October? I don't. I know that they have increased capacity for October, especially as you get closer to Halloween. That makes sense. Disney wants to make some more money, so I don't know how crowded it'll be then. I'm interested to know if you are going to be there. Let us know. Report back on what that looks like. But for what I experienced, it was 100% worth the price of ticket.
Were there any special Halloween-themed food offerings, and did you try those?
There were quite a few. I didn't try any. As I said, we had dinner beforehand, which was maybe a mistake because we really filled up on dinner. And then we had some of the candy, and we were offered all those free treats. So I actually didn't need there to be the special Halloween treats. In fact, my suggestion to Disney would be to let those be available to everybody during the Halloween season, during normal park operating hours, because if it's going to be a free treat event, I think it's silly to pay more money to get another treat, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And it kind of follows the Disneyland model of kind of specialty food items, not just tied to events, right? But just like kind of available throughout the season or throughout the holiday.
Yeah, I think that's the way they should go. And maybe they will learn that. My hunch is I didn't see many people getting additional treats other than the free ones. I imagine they way undersold what they expected.
And I applaud dinner before. I did the exact same thing, Patrick. And, you can have some cocktails if you're at Skipper Canteen. So that's always a good choice before you go to an event or a party. But eating beforehand, particularly when you know there's going to be just sweets essentially available to you, or the free stuff will be more sweet or less filling or less satisfying, I think eating beforehand is the smart move.
Yeah. That being said, if this is going to be your day in the park, maybe you do want to try to experience more rides and really experience the park as opposed to sitting down in a restaurant. The choice is yours. The choice is yours.
It's so thoughtful of you to give people the option, Patrick. You're so kind.
Yeah. The permission, really.
The permission. There you go. Yeah. Well, it sounds like this was a very successful event for you and Matt. Did Matt enjoy it as well?
He had a wonderful time. I think this was his first experience with the Halloween overlay in the parks, and he loved it. It is really beautiful. It's something to see, I will say.
All right, so there you have it, folks. Boo Bash, after hours event. If those rides are calling to you and you want to avoid those crowds, granted, we'll see how October goes, but this might be the event for you.
That's right. 2 ears up. 2 ears up.
So should we talk more about food?
Yes, please. Since we talked about the Skipper Canteen already, let's keep talking about food.
Let's keep eating our way through your trip report, because while you were there was also food and wine, right?
It was food and wine. Started very early this year, just as the Halloween season did. Food and wine was lovely. It was fine. It was a fine time at Food and Wine. I don't have a lot to say about it, other than the food was good. The food that we tasted was good. I can go through a list of my recommendations maybe for Food and Wine in just a second. Here's what I'll say about Food and Wine. It needs more. It needs a little extra. Hot take for me is that Flower and Garden is so much better because you still get all of the food booths that Food and Wine provide, a little less, not quite as many, but you also get the beautiful landscaping around the park, right? You get those beautiful topiaries, you get the flowers that are planted all around the lake there. It's really lovely. And then for Festival of the Arts is better because you, again, still get a lot of additional food offerings, and you get all of the wonderful activities and the artists that are there. And Food and Wine right now is just some food and some wine. There's not really anything extra. Right? I mean, there's not much extra available that makes it a festival for me.
Appropriately named, but still.
Yes, absolutely. And as far as I know, I don't think that they were offering, at least not while I was there, I didn't see any, like usually they have wine tastings and they have food tastings, and that really makes it a food and wine celebration. But right now, things that are pared down, Food and Wine is just a day in Epcot to me.
So they were kind of billing this as the return of Food and Wine, right? Like this wasn't a taste of Food and Wine anymore. This was like full Food and Wine. But what you're saying is that like the specialty events, the kind of cooking demonstrations, things like that were just not available.
I didn't notice them. If they were there, I did not see any signage. I didn't hunt for them necessarily, but I didn't notice that they were there. That being said, all of the booths were open, with a caveat. There are some more that are opening in October, so I guess not all of the booths available. But in this past year, Food and Wine, I think it was like a smattering of options. This was a full-on smorgasbord of food. There was a booth every 5 steps to get food. So in that sense, it was a full-on Food and Wine and not just a tasting of it. But beyond that, not really any extra activities other than the merch this year for Food and Wine is extraordinary and beautiful. And I think if you are a merch person, this is the year to get Food and Wine merch because it is outstanding.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because yes, we're still in a pandemic.
Yeah.
But because Future World or former Future World is now so heavily under construction, you'd think they'd really want to kind of up the ante on Food and Wine because World Showcase is kind of all we're working with at the moment. So it's a tough situation for Disney parks to be in because they're trying to navigate a pandemic, but they're also trying to draw attention to World Showcase and get people in there.
I would say that's 100% accurate. It's just, I'm not going to call it a letdown, but if you're going there expecting a festival, you will be let down. It's just an experience. That being said, you can, if you want to, get drunk very quickly at Food and Wine because...
You can?
Yeah, turns out. I believe every single booth this year does have an alcohol option. So you can drink your way around the world plus. You know?
Yeah. Important to add that plus in there. Drink until Future World looks attractive.
That's right. It may never happen, but you can try. You can try. So let's talk a little bit about some of the foods that I had at Food and Wine. I tried the Impossible Burger Slider from Earth Eats, which is pretty good, but I will say you can get very similar items, a full-size version of this, at many restaurants throughout Walt Disney World. They do the Impossible Burger almost at every restaurant now, so I don't know if it's worth your money. It's tasty though. It is really good. I had the roasted lamb chop with sweet potato puree and the deconstructed pavlova with pastry cream, berries, and lemon meringue, indeed, from the Australia booth. The Australia booth was very popular this year. All of their foods were really tasty.
Hot guys?
No, not at all, actually.
Clearly not Australian either because pandemic.
Right. The international cast members are not available this year for Food and Wine.
Maybe Future World isn't the saddest part of Epcot. Maybe that's the saddest part of Epcot right now.
That really is the biggest disappointment of all. Let's see. We also had the poutine from the refreshment port right next to the Canada Pavilion. Very delicious. I'm a poutine fan. I'm a fan of poutine. I'm a poutinesman, if you will, and it's delicious. Delicious.
I know how you love that poutine, Patrick.
I really do. Just get me into some gravy and some fries and some Canadian guys. And it's a good day. It's a good day for me.
That is a t-shirt. Gravy, fries, Canadian guys.
Need I say more? And then I will say the tuna poke from the Hawaii booth is really delicious and you get a lot of it. It is a meal, basically. So it might fill you up if you have that. But I highly recommend it. It's really delicious and very refreshing, actually.
Sounds amazing. Everything you had sounds fantastic.
It was. I mean, listen, Food and Wine, they do a really good job with those extras that you get through the festival. Like I said before, though, a lot of these options are available at Flower and Garden and at Festival of the Arts. So is it worth it to plan your trip around Food and Wine right now? I don't know. I wouldn't say so.
So before we close the door on food, then, Patrick, what else did you stuff into your mouth hole on this trip that you just need to talk about?
I imagine we're still talking about food. Otherwise, that's a very different topic. And let's be clear, the food door is never closed in my life. Well, let's talk about actually what I had about Skipper Canteen that I highly recommend is the spicy Thai noodles. So delicious. We actually both had them. I requested because, listen, I like spicy food and I know that Disney World is a little afraid of spices sometimes. So I asked mine to be a little spicier than usual and it was perfection. So if you're a spicy food connoisseur, get the spicy Thai noodles and ask it to be a little spicier than usual and your dreams will come true. I'll tell you what.
I like how flirty that could be too. Like, can you just make it a little bit spicier than normal?
Shake things up a little. You know what I mean? Also, I'll say, ask about the secret menu items that are available at Skipper Canteen. We were treated to the Brazilian cheese bread. So delicious. I dream about them now. They're like little clouds of cheese-filled bread that are so tasty with a delicious sauce on it. My mouth is watering right now thinking about them.
Compare it to the density of a Cheddar Bay biscuit. Is it lighter?
It's more doughy. I would think of it more as like a sourdough dumpling, maybe, with cheese inside of it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so good. So good. Let's see, what else did I shovel into my face? Oh, Adam, you'll be pleased to know we did make an excursion to the Brown Derby, which I am slowly becoming a little bit more of a fan of, slowly but surely. You'll be pleased to know.
Baby steps to Brown Derby fandom.
Baby steps. So we went there for lunch. We needed to get, we went in August, and it is so hot in August.
Yes.
That kind of every day we were like, where can we go that's not going to melt us and kill us? And every day the option was, we got to find a restaurant to go and eat indoors. Right now, and hopefully they'll continue this, if reservations are full, you can still join a virtual queue for a lot of the sit-down restaurants. Now, you won't always get a seat, but it's at least worth trying. We did this with the Brown Derby. We entered the virtual queue, and within minutes, we got a table. So it can be done, everybody. It can be done. There, we split a really delicious strawberry and mixed green salad, which was so refreshing on a hot day. And then we also split the halibut with white asparagus, which I fully recommend. If you are a fan of whitefish, this is perfection. It is a delicious meal. I was not disappointed.
That's important that you brought that up too, Patrick, regarding the virtual queue for restaurants. You got to remember, people's plans are changing all the time. Like, there could be a family with kids and the kids are getting cranky, and so they want to go back to the hotel and they had a reservation. So just keep that in mind, because you'll be surprised what you can end up with very last minute.
Absolutely. The app, though, it's probably going away because of the Disney Genie app that's coming in, but the app is getting better and better about making food reservations or mobile ordering. It's so easy to do now, and it takes seconds to get there now. So I fully recommend it. And get out of the sun, everybody. It is hot in August, and it's just a nice little recharge. Even if you're not going to have a full meal, Disney doesn't really care. As long as you're going to order something and eat something and sit for a little bit, don't be rude and stay for hours and hours. But, get off your feet for a little bit and get into some air conditioning, drink some water, and have some halibut with white asparagus at the Brown Derby.
That specifically.
And last but not least, I'll say the very first thing I shoveled into my mouth was a Casey's Corner order of corn dog nuggets. Oh, I've been waiting for this day, everybody. You know how much I love it. And it's finally open, mobile order only, which actually makes it a lot quicker to get your food. And it's worth it. The corn dog nuggets, I love them. I love them so dearly.
Did a single tear just escape your eye as you ate one?
It really did. As you just look at the castle and dream of the day to come and shovel scalding hot corn dog nuggets into your mouth.
No better way to spend a day in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, a dream is a wish your mouth eats, I think. That's the new saying.
Well, let's talk about some of the new experiences, if any, that you had. I mean, you have been to the parks and back multiple times in your young life, Patrick, yet there's always something new to do in a Disney park. What kind of new experiences did you have?
Fair enough. One thing I did that is actually fairly new to the parks is in Epcot, I went to the Awesome Planet show in the Land Pavilion with the narrator Ty Burrell, I believe, narrated it.
Yes. What did you think?
It's really beautiful, I will say. I had never been in there. I'd never seen the Lion King version of the show. It's a huge theater. I had no idea. It's like, where did this come from? I have no idea this was here. It's enormous. The footage that you're seeing is absolutely stunning. Now, I will say, it turns a little terrifying because it is awesome planet, but then it turns into sort of, and this awesome planet is slowly dying, and and you're the reason why. And so it has a very strong political message, I will say. I imagine a lot of people who are politically of a different persuasion than I am were not pleased with the message behind Awesome Planet, but it's really educational, it's informative, it's beautiful. I recommend it. It's really short too. I think it's maybe 10 minutes long, if that. And again, it's just a nice experience to get off your feet for a second.
Sponsored by Exxon.
Specifically sponsored by them. No, it's really lovely. Let's see, what else did I do? I went to, for the very first time, Adam, the Hall of Presidents in Magic Kingdom.
Patrick, you buried the lead. This is a seminal moment in GDTD history. Patrick has been to the Hall of Presidents. Talk about your experience.
Here's what I'll say. It's really lovely. It's an emotional experience. I didn't expect it to hit me the way that it hit me. And maybe that was because I was very tired and very hot. I don't know. I hadn't had any corn dog nuggets in a while. And so it was an emotional mess. Who can say? But it's a beautiful production that they put on. Seeing Joe Biden was great. Seeing Barack Obama was great. I'll end it there with presidents who I think that were lovely to see. There was a great divide, I'll say, in the audience based on who people were clapping for. It was very clear on political persuasions, and it was about 50-50, which is interesting. Very interesting to see. I'll leave those comments there and say it's worth doing. It's not as long as I thought it was going to be, and maybe it's because I'm older and those things excite me more than they did before, but it was nice. I wish that they had more of a display of the first ladies in the lobby prior to going into the theater. I think that needs a little bit of an update. It's clear that was made in 1971 and has not changed since then. Right. But it was fun. There are a lot of really beautiful artifacts of presidents past that live there, and the seal of the president is there, which is nice to see because it's a rare occurrence when you get to see that.
Do you know what I would love in that lobby? And this is just me speaking as a homosexual, y'all. But I would love, and they have this at the Smithsonian, the First Lady's gowns that they wore at the inaugural balls. And I know that's like women, fashion, but I'm a gay and I want to see it.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're up. No, they're actually, I mean, I would argue that they are historical moments in time when these say something moments for the first ladies. And I wanted to know about the platforms that these first women stood for as well. I think that's really important and interesting to learn about.
Platform heels you're talking about?
I mean platform heels, absolutely.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Another first for me in the parks was watching the fireworks from behind the castle.
Yes. I have had this experience.
It's really fun. Now, the first night we were there, we went to the Magic Kingdom, and I wanted to make sure that I got a good spot to see Happily Ever After because it's going away. It would be my last experience seeing it before the 50th. And so we did that. We got it out of the way. Great. Emotional. Cried through the entire thing. It was lovely. The next night, before the Halloween party, we were afforded some more time and we didn't want to stand in that big crowd. And so we decided to watch the fireworks from behind the castle. And it is such a different experience. Obviously, you don't get to see the projection mapping on the castle, but the fireworks are right next to you when you're standing behind the castle. And so it's really cool. It's a really different experience. And I recommend it if the time is afforded to you.
It is a different experience, kind of harkens back to more of a classic Magic Kingdom fireworks experience where it was just the music and the fireworks. And Patrick's right. Like the fireworks are literally above you and beside you.
Yeah, it's almost a 360 experience because it's happening all around you, the fireworks. So there's always something to look at while you're there. And no one's there either. So there's lots of room for activities while you're watching the fireworks display.
Well, speaking of shows, fireworks shows, Patrick, what about the actual shows going on? You know, there's been an extreme kind of pullback on live entertainment. Were you able to see any shows while you were there?
Yeah. In fact, quite a few of the shows are back. Not all of them. Finding Nemo is not back. I don't know if it will be. Who can say? Remains to be seen. But we did make it an effort to go see the Festival of the Lion King. It's one of my very favorite things to do and see within the parks. And we did see the Festival of Lion King, and it's great. It's beautiful. It's so nice to see actors back, the Disney World performers. They are having the time of their life. It feels like they are coming back, well, because they are coming back from a long break, but it seemed fresh. The performances seemed very fresh, and the vocals seemed very fresh. I will say the Tumble Monkeys are not back as part of the show, and the two birds during Can You Feel a Love Tonight do not fly. They do more of a ballet right now. Now, I'm not sure why that is, if there are different unions that represent them that aren't wanting them back yet, if they got different jobs and they just don't have anybody yet, or if it's just not COVID safe for them to be together yet. I don't really know, but they are were a huge part of the show. That's a little sad to see them go.
Yeah.
So in that vein, I kind of wish that they had taken this time to just sort of redo the Festival of the Lion King and just add different things to it. But it is the same show, just without those elements of the show. That being said, it's still really lovely and beautiful, and I recommend seeing it.
That's so great to hear. And obviously our hearts went out to all the cast members who are performers in the parks. Well, I mean, all the cast members in general, but those who are performers who were really kind of put on hiatus for an even longer period of time. We want to see them back in the parks again as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, though not a show necessarily, but it should be noted that pre-shows are back at a lot of the attractions now, like the Haunted Mansion, and specifically, I had never seen Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway pre-show, and it is worth it. It is so adorable. I will go out on a limb and say this is the best pre-show that I've seen at a Disney park. It's so cute, it's so inventive, and it really is part of the attraction. Like fully, it gets you ready to go on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So if it's available, see the pre-show to that attraction. I imagine you can't bypass it now, which is great to know, but it's great. Worth the wait.
Oh, that's so great to hear. And one of the reasons that pre-show was removed, obviously, was for everyone's health and safety. They didn't want people kind of clustered together in a smaller space. So, Patrick, kind of in that vein, you know, we got to transition to COVID protocols that are put into the parks, things like that. What was your kind of overall experience, your overall perception of how the pandemic is currently being handled in Walt Disney World?
That's a great question. I'm glad that you asked it because I think it's very important to talk about right now. It's very top of mind for a lot of people. Here's how I'll start this. The parks, while I was there, were very low attendance. So I don't know why that was. I know for a fact that they were not at capacity in the parks other than the Boo Bash. That was a sold out ticketed event. Whether or not everybody attended who had a ticket, I don't know. But the parks were very low attendance. And so I felt very safe while I was there. That being said, there are moments now where Disney has brought some things back that did make me feel uncomfortable. And so this is a moment where if you're going to go to the Disney parks and you have some anxieties about it, really get in the mindset of being an advocate for yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. Mm-hmm. Here are some places where that will come into play. Some of the pre-shows. So the phrase fill in all available spaces is back, unfortunately. I think that is a mistake on Disney's part. I don't think that we need to go back to them telling us to get close with your stranger neighbor. That is inappropriate to me. I didn't like it. I'm not a fan of it. Specifically in the Haunted Mansion, they are packing those rooms. And so the pre-show rooms. And so when they tell you to get into the dead center of the room, don't do it. Stay along the wall. You do not have to do that. They are asking you to do it. You do not have to do it. So don't. I don't recommend doing it. That being said, they are wearing masks in that room, which is a little better because anything indoors right now, you still have to wear a mask, which is great. But they are telling you to pack yourselves in this tiny room. And I don't like it. I was not a fan of it. I don't know that I'll go on this ride during the 50th if it's too packed in the parks because I think I'm just not comfortable with it yet. That's just me. I'm just saying this for me. I will also say that they are packing buses now as well. On the first night on the way back, we got onto a bus and it felt fine. And then and then it didn't feel fine. And by then it was too late for me to get off the bus because it had already started going and I was uncomfortable. I think it's incredibly insensitive and inappropriate of Disney to be doing that right now. We are not out of the pandemic. Yes, you have to wear a mask, but there were literally people coughing on the bus, and it just, no, thank you. That needs to go away. I'm not a fan of it. Sorry to bring a damper to things, but going forward, I knew I needed to advocate for myself. And if I saw a packed bus, I was going to wait for the next bus or take an Uber. So those are, I know that is not affordable for everybody. And that's unfortunate on Disney's behalf, because they should not be packing buses right now. Nothing should be packed right now. If it's a full park, I understand that when you're outside. I'm sorry I keep saying it, but I think it is inappropriate of them to tell you to fill in all available space. We're not there yet, I don't think. That's just my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what the thought process is behind that. My assumption is that they just don't want to go back or give the perception that they're going backwards, which, looking at Orlando right now and Florida in general, it's going backwards. And I know Orlando and Florida is not Walt Disney World, but you can't help when you're flying into that area, think about these things. So it behooves Disney, in my opinion, to just backtrack a little bit and make sure that everyone feels safe and comfortable in these more condensed spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised that they are doing that, quite frankly. I mean, they took the stand to have all of their cast members vaccinated. They took the stand to put masks back on people when they're indoors. I don't see why they are still pushing to pack you into a small room, an unventilated small room, I will add. So not a fan of it. Some rides now, actually, the day that we got there, I think they just changed their mask policy again. So now for some outdoor rides, you don't have to wear a mask, which I think makes sense. At some of the rides, it's like, I'm not next to anybody. I'm thinking of like alien swirling saucers. You're next to your partner and nobody else. So I can see that. Don't need to wear a mask there. I will say, word of advice, even though you may not think you're going to be indoors sometimes, you are going to be indoors sometimes. Bring your mask. Bring several masks. You are still going to need them. And if you are feeling uncomfortable, even when you're outdoors, put your mask on. We did. We did that anytime that the crowd was just too big for us. Put your mask on. You will not be alone. There are many people still wearing masks outdoors. So don't feel ashamed to wear a mask. You should feel encouraged and courageous to wear a mask anywhere that you want to wear your mask. So that's just my political rant on masks right now.
Yeah, they're like a badge of honor and friendship, right? Because you are protecting those around you as much as you're protecting yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. What else? I guess a couple more tips for those who have not been in August. As I said before, take as many breaks as you possibly can get, because it is, not a joke, ridiculously, dangerously hot sometimes in August. So get out of the sun. I am highly recommending getting those cooling towels. Disney is selling them everywhere now, and they are magical. They make a difference. Use them often. They're amazing, and they're not very expensive, and you don't have to buy them there. Bring your own, whatever you want to do. Use a cooling towel, and bring a filtered water bottle with you, because you're going to want to drink a lot of water. Now, most places will give you a free cup of water. Great. I hate the taste of Disney water. So I made an investment and bought a bottle called the Grail water bottle, Grayl. It's fantastic. It's literally a water bottle that you could take water out of a river and press it through its own little system, and it tastes like magical, delicious, fresh drinking water. Highly recommended it.
Hashtag not sponsored, but could be.
Hashtag not sponsored, but we will take a sponsorship anywhere we can get it.
Yeah, Patrick's right. It's no joke. That's when we used to visit when I was a kid, because my parents were public school teachers. And so we had a limited window during summer break. We would frequently go in August, and it is intense. So you need to take as many breaks as you possibly can to ensure that you're able to enjoy your experience.
Yeah. Take those breaks, people, because the one thing that we saw more often than anything were parent meltdowns on this trip.
Yeah.
So many parents having full-on meltdowns while their kids just watched them have a meltdown. It was really upsetting to see, and it's gross. Don't do that to yourselves. Don't do that to yourselves. Don't do that to your kids. Don't do that to those around you. Take a break. It's fine. You're fine. It doesn't mean you're weak if you have to sit down somewhere in air conditioning. It means you're smart. So just do it. Just do it.
Well, it sounds like, Patrick, this was a highly successful trip for you and Matt. It sounds like you really had a wonderful time in Walt Disney World.
We did. We had a really lovely time. It was a little informative as well of what maybe we can expect in October. Hard to know. As we said before, we don't know what capacity is actually going to look like. Disney's being pretty hush-hush about it. We do know that last week, I think they released even more tickets for the 50th anniversary. So hard to know what to expect. Fingers are crossed. But I do know now, and I do feel equipped, as I said before, to be an advocate for myself and for our party if we do choose to go still, to just get out of harm's way. If it doesn't feel okay to you, you don't have to do it. I mean, you do have to wear a mask. So if that doesn't feel okay to you, get out of town. But if you feel unsafe at any point, you don't have to do it. Just walk away, walk somewhere else, get a worse view for the fireworks if it means that you're going to survive this pandemic, because it's not worth it. I'm telling you right now, it's not worth it to feel uncomfortable.
It's so important that you bring that up, Patrick, and for people to feel safe and to fully be able to enjoy their experience. You may not fully be able to enjoy it just because of what the world is going through right now, and it's not a traditional Disney experience, but you want to make sure that while you're there, you feel safe and protected and are enjoying yourself as much as you're able, right?
Absolutely. And let's be clear, like, being part of these safety protocols is ensuring that the parks can stay open for everyone to enjoy. So just be a part of the safety plan and they won't have to close again. Fingers crossed.
If you have any questions for Patrick regarding an upcoming Disney trip or what you can expect during your visit regarding COVID protocols or attraction changes, feel free to reach out to us. You can do so on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or you can leave us a voice memo or an email at info@gazedothed.com.
I love the idea of you being our group advocate if we do go down for the 50th. Like, if people get too close to our group, I just want you to, like, put your hands out and be like, no, no.
I'm going to wear a shirt that just says, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Patrick.
Ooh, you matched me almost perfectly. Well done. Well done.
Twinning.
Twinning indeed. Adam, we have reached the end of our episode, which means the vacation has finally come to an end for me.
You've been vacationing this whole time right up until the beginning of Quick D?
I haven't changed my clothes since I've landed.
Gross.
Yeah, it's a little messy here right now, but we are at the end of the episode, which means it's time for some Quick D, Adam.
Patrick, what version of Quick D are we doing this week?
Thanks so much for asking, Adam. I'll tell you, we are doing a classic Quick D. That means Adam and I are going to ask each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording, and we're going to answer it off the ever-loving cuff.
The ever-loving cuff?
Yeah, it's the cuff of ever-loving from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Cuffs.
The true cuff will bring you eternal life. The false cuff will bring you death.
Much like all of our listeners, you have chosen poorly.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, Adam, would you like to ask a question of me first, or shall I go first?
Oh, I'll ask you first.
Well, thank you so much. How do you do? Ask me a question.
How do you do? Patrick, while you were away, while you were out, I spent a great deal of my time watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Of course.
And The Real Housewives of Potomac.
Oh, goodness. I am so excited and so sorry for you.
Don't be sorry. They're fabulous. Fabulous.
Fair enough.
But my viewing time has informed my Quick D question. And here we go. Patrick, You know how at the beginning of any of the Real Housewives series, the housewives have a catchphrase that they deliver during the credit sequence?
They sure do. They sure do, Adam.
They say things like, "Throw me to the wolves and I'll return the leader of the pack."
Ooh, is that actually one of them?
That's one of Lisa Vanderpump's from like season 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Good to know. Good to know.
Word on the street is, "I'm the word on the street."
So clever. They're just mwah, chef's kisses.
Giselle from Potomac. Yes. So I thought we'd have some fun. I'm going to give you a couple of Disney characters, and I want you to give me their Real Housewives catchphrase.
Oh, this sounds like a disaster. All right, let's do it.
Let's start with Pinocchio. What's Pinocchio's Real Housewives catchphrase?
Pinocchio's Real Housewives catchphrase is, "Just because I'm lying doesn't mean we can't have fun." Because it grows when he lies.
Oh, I got it.
Great. Great. No explanation needed. Okay, moving on.
What's Goofy's Real Housewives catchphrase?
Goofy's Real Housewives catchphrase is, "If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. I'm not a damn cow." Yeah, that feels right. That feels good to me.
So defensive, Goofy.
Yeah, unexpectedly, he is the villain of that season.
What about Piglet? What's Piglet's Real Housewives catchphrase?
I don't know if it's a catchphrase, but here we go. I think he's just going to say, "Hey, corn, hey."
What?
Because he likes acorns.
Oh.
And so he just says, "Hey, corn, hey." I don't know why.
Oh my God, I'm crying. What the heck?
Or it's, nope, I can't say that one.
Oh my.
It was something about and one little pink, but that's not appropriate. It's not something I can fully flesh out, but I think I have just now with everyone's imagination.
We're all there with you mentally. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right, Patrick, what is your question for me?
Yeah, we have to move on. Adam, as you know, Club Cool will be returning to Epcot.
Yes.
And recently, Imagineer Zach Ridley gave some first looks inside the new Club Cool. But they're not done with it yet, Adam. They're not done with it yet. Talk to me about some ways that Gaze Do the D has influenced some new things you can experience in Club Cool.
Okay, I'm happy to do this. And let me just say, as a side note, Zach, come on the pod.
Yeah, won't you please? Won't you just?
Seems like a great fit to have you on the podcast.
Long-time listener, first-time guest. That could be you.
He has never listened to a single episode of this podcast.
You don't know.
Maybe. Okay. Anyway, Zach, come on the pod. Okay. Club Cool. Yes. How has Gaze Do the D influenced the new design or offerings?
Yes, exactly. Exactly that.
Well, I think we both know there's going to be some very interesting new flavors.
Interesting.
But we can't talk about that because that's actually Club Cool After Hours, which is a separate experience. It's a special paid for ticket to get into Club Cool, offering some more adult theming.
You will require a wristband to get in.
Wristband, harness, what have you.
Bring your own.
BYOH. Okay, Club Cool, Gaze Do the D style. I think every time the sliding doors open to Club Cool, it's just us saying, "Hey, welcome to Club Cool."
No one will enter that building.
We've got some Sassy Sippers for you. Sassy Sipper is actually a featured beverage you can get now at Club Cool, the Sassy Sipper.
I like it. I will pay extra for a Sassy Sipper.
Maybe the podcast has its own line of syrups. Popcorn syrup for you, Patrick.
Ooh, that sounds real gross, but thank you so much.
A little peanut butter fudge syrup coming out of the dispenser for me. Just giant clumps of fudge dropping out of a soda dispenser.
It's a heavy drink. It's
not a light beverage, no.
Give me that on a hot August day.
Maybe some of the little Dixie cups they offer are shaped like some of the more attractive Disney heroes or love interests that we've come to promote on the podcast.
That's right. Sip out of your favorite hero's Dixie cup. Right?
Well, I'm not saying anything after that. That's perfect. That's how we end the show.
And I think you mean the actual show.
Yes, this is the official last episode of Gays Do the D. But Zach, come on. Come on.
We need you.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.